This is unit number 1 of Introduction to Ethics, Philosophy 2306. Throughout this course we were looking at theories and reasoning associated with the academic study of ethics. In this introductory unit we're going to look at the requirements for the course, we're going to look at the textbook obviously as you can see, and make some introductory remarks about the study of ethics, particularly academic ethics, and make some distinctions. First and foremost, let's talk about the textbooks. You'll notice there are two of them. The Fundamentals of Ethics is a book about ethical theory, whereas The Ethical Life, on the other hand, is a case study. You'll need both sets of books. Now, I'm aware that there's currently a 4th edition coming out, particularly of the Fundamentals. This course has been designed around the 3rd edition. You should be able to get plenty of copies of the 3rd edition, and because the 4th is out, it should be cheaper. If you've got the 4th edition, that's okay too, because basically there's not that much difference. And then you look at the reading guide in the syllabus, which I'll talk about in a moment, you'll see that there you've got chapter headings and you'll be guided by those, and that will be just fine for you as far as you're going through the course. So you'll need the textbook. You also need the syllabus. Here's the syllabus. You need to print it off. It's quite large. And the reason for that is that this is an online course, which means a lot more material has to be in writing, and a lot of detail in writing. So I hope you'll find that helpful. I'll leave that to you. Also, you can see on the slide that we have some class materials on D2L, quite a bit, and I encourage you to go to D2L and become familiar with it. But before we go on, let me just tell you where we're going. We're going to begin by a discussion about some of the specific distinctives of an online course. Before we talk about the course requirements, and it's things that I think are quite important that you take hold of. And then we'll look at the basic objectives, and then we'll look at an introductory remarks about ethics and how it fits together with philosophy, and that might help you with your reading as you're approaching the early chapters of the textbook on theory. An online course is wonderful in one sense. It is convenient. Let's think of the things you can do with your convenience. You can proceed with your classwork anywhere at any time. I can imagine you late at night sitting on jammies with a nice cup of coffee, working your way through the videos and the PowerPoints and the textbook, and just at your own leisure. You can make your work fit your own schedule. If you're an early morning person, you can do it in the morning. If you're a late person, you can do it in the evening. All you need is your computer and access to the web. There's one exception to that, of course. You'll have to be online with us in our WebEx class discussions where we come together in 2 sections, and we'll talk about that shortly. But that's something where you'll need to be together. But again, you'll have your computer, you can do it from anywhere. Sometimes you have a computer with a camera and you can come on and join the discussion, participate. It really is quite convenient. And one of the wonderful things is you can travel anywhere in the world and do this. You don't have to call up and say, I'm going away for a 6-week vacation. You can. And on your vacation, just as long as you've got access to the internet, plug on in. However, there is another side to an online course. And in some ways, an online course is harder, even more demanding, because the demands are placed on you. In a sense, I've done my work. I've made the videos. I've put it up online. I've got the material. I'm here to help you. But quite frankly, the only time we'll really get to interact is in the WebExes. I'm looking forward to that, but nonetheless, it really is on you. And so there are 4 things that you need to take notice of. You need to be organised. You have to plan your work, when you're going to do it. You have to be consistent. I can provide you with resources, such as the videos and the PowerPoints and other things. But, dear friends, you have to consistently work. And another very, very important element is you have to read the materials carefully, especially the syllabus and all the instructions. You can't just raise your hand and say, I can ask a question, Dr. Ferguson. No. You have to read it for yourself. And in that regard, I want to point out the limitations of the cell phone. I have an iPhone here. It's a PDA. I can actually go online and see things. You can even participate in a WebEx using a good quality phone, because it has a camera and you can interact. But there's a fundamental limitation to this machine. And that is it's a very small screen. And it does tend to limit your ability to comprehend what you're reading. My experience over the years with students who use this as their primary computer is that they miss a great deal. Now, that's not every student's experience, I'll grant you that, but it is very hard to read carefully everything that's on your cell phone. So you've got to be organised, you've got to be consistent, you've got to read carefully, and you mustn't get behind. There's a tendency with an online course that you can put things off, well, you can't. I've structured the course so that you can only work through the course systematically. When you go online, you'll see all the units listed in the reading guide. When you go to D2L, there's only one unit there to start with. After you complete Unit 1, you won't see Unit 2. If you complete Unit 1 and 2, you won't see Unit 3. I've designed it that way because I want to encourage you to work systematically through the materials. So, convenience is fantastic, but it's also some hard work as well. And I need to draw your attention to that. The next slide is rather obvious. We conduct the course on our college learning system, Desire to Learn. The letters D2L stand for that. Our face-to-face discussions are limited to our WebExes. And all the materials are online, including examinations. And you'll post your written work there as well. Some important things about communication here. Everyone's contribution is important. Hence, you need to participate in the WebExes and in the class forums. Your contribution is important. One of the things you'll discover is that you will learn a great deal from your colleagues. That may not seem to make a lot of sense, but an online course, students, generally speaking, when they take the time, write a lot of material that's well worth reading and is quite good quality. So communication is very important. And in that regard, there are some expectations. The first is about students, and the second is about faculty. You first. It's expected you'll be in contact with D2L, that you'll be consistent in that contact. You'll be open to participating and asking questions. For example, in the WebEx, you have to ask questions. And I'm expecting you to ask questions. If you don't ask questions, you won't get full credit. I'm expecting you to work diligently through all the class requirements. Be diligent taking the tests. The tests are time sensitive. You have plenty of time. You have 3 or 4 days to take the test. And again, you can take it anywhere in the world, but you need to thoroughly take it. Make your contributions carefully in the forums. Take the time to prepare. The written work is not great, but the thought that you have to put in is significant. And be faithful. What can you expect from me? Well, you can expect that I'll provide you with all the relevant scholarly materials. I'll respond to you in a timely manner. I'll talk about how you can contact me in a moment, but generally speaking, I can get back to you in 24 hours. I'll provide you feedback with your work. I'll be available for our class discussions. And I'll be online and can set up an arrangement to chat with you using either a phone or using the WebEx. We can actually have a classroom discussion privately if necessary. I'll leave you to look at those things for yourself. Now, this is what's important here. There are a couple of things important here. I'm going to highlight this line here. We're online. That is my email. It's my D2L email. Now, when you're in an online course, you have a D2L email as well as your regular college email. With the beginning of this class, at the beginning of the course, all communications with me need to come through D2L. You need to send it from a D2L address, and you need to send it to my D2L address. There are multiple reasons for this, but the practical one from your point of view is, during the semester, my inbox becomes flooded at the college, and there's all kinds of reasons why emails get lost. And I can't guarantee I'll get them. Whereas with a D2L email, they go into the course, I have them there, and I check them regularly, and I can respond to them. So use the D2L email system. That's very important. You can text the phone number I have there. I won't necessarily respond immediately. Now, there's a very important point about communicating with me. You'll need to write the course number you're in. I teach a number of courses, and you need to write ethics, and you write 2306. And I'll know who you are and your first and last name. You need with text messages and with emails. just saying, "Hi, Dr. Ferguson, this is Jim," I won't have the slightest idea who you are, especially if you've emailed me from outside the school. Now, if you're emailing me from inside D2L, I'll know who you are. So it's very, very important that you use D2L and you tell me who you are each time you communicate with me. I want to respond to you, but you have to help me. Well, let's turn our attention now to a quick look at the course requirements. You'll need both sections of the textbook. Here are the two textbooks. Here we have the fundamentals of ethics, and here we have the ethical life. Two textbooks. They really make up one textbook, and you should be able to get the third edition. No trouble at all. It's not the latest edition, so you should be able to get second-hand copies. Hopefully it'll make it a little cheaper for you. When it comes to assessment, 3 short tests. There'll be 2 class discussion forums, 2 forums. In one forum, half of you will be making a presentation or a submission on a particular case which is defined in the syllabus for you and where you'll find it in the textbooks. And the other half of the class will be responding to those who have made a submission. And the second forum, those who made responses in the first will actually make presentations, and those who made presentations in the first will make responses. 20% for a submission and 10% for a response. There'll also be a reflection essay with 20% and the final examination itself, which will also be online. So quite important to you there. All right, let's talk about the essay the short essays very briefly. You can consult the syllabus for the details of this. They'll post it on D2L. Each test will cover all the previous work. So in other words, in test 1 it'll cover the first 4 units, and in test 2 it'll cover, I think it's the first 8 units. It'll be cumulative anyway, all the previous work. The test questions will be based upon the assigned reading, the fundamentals of the ethics, selection of the classroom discussions, and the study notes. And I'll talk about the study notes in a moment. And the dates and circumstances of each of these tests can set out below. Fundamentally, you need to complete the units that lead up to it first. Dates are given. Stick to those dates. It'll help you get through this course and do well. And I want you to do well, so keep up with those. They're really straightforward and easy. They'll just keep on top of the reading and keep you evaluating. The 2 class discussion forums. What is important here for you to know that the ethical life, this textbook, is the one where you'll find cases, and they're set out in this textbook. I've given you guidance in the syllabus as where to find cases. And what's really very important is that if you would like to choose the case out of here you'd like to make your submission on, what you need to do is to email me through D2L and do so before the second Monday of the course. And you'd get to me before 11:30. I will assign these cases myself. If you haven't made any requests, I'll just assign you a case. If on the other hand you get a request a case from me and you are the first one to do it, it's your case. I have no problem giving it to you at all. But I have to post these by Tuesday of the second week of course. So it's important that we stay on top of this. We have a relatively short period of time when you start looking at the course as a whole, so it's important to keep up with it. So, and you'll find the details in the syllabus, and I just ask you to read that through very carefully. Extra credit. There are 2 kinds of extra credit. One is the WebExes, and there are 2 of those, and then there are 3 points for each WebEx. But there are conditions for you to attend the WebEx and get credit. I'll come back to it in a moment. And also, there's a large piece of credit, extra credit that comes to you if you fill out the course evaluation at the end of the semester. You don't have to participate in the WebExes. I think you'll find them very helpful and a lot of fun, because basically when we come to that first WebEx, it'll follow the first forum, And those who have made submissions in the first forum will have the opportunity, if they've did it on time, to make a submission to have a discussion about their paper during the WebEx, and they'll get extra credit. And if you've made a response on time, then you can participate and get extra credit. If you have not posted your submission and response on time, you don't have to post it on time. You can post it any time. But if you haven't posted it on time and given people the opportunity to have a look at it before the WebEx, well, you can't have extra credit. But you're welcome to attend the WebEx anyway. So please have a look at that as a detail. It's extra credit, and you don't have to in any way worry about the WebEx, and there's no making up WebExes or anything. It's just extra credit. The reflection essay. In D2L, you will find some resources that will help you write this essay. Your writing essay, which is between 3,000 and 5,000 words, double-spaced. I need to pre-approve the topic. You can pick any topic in the course. You'll have all the sources for that, the textbook, questions in the tests, the study notes. I'll come to those in a moment. And I'd like you to email me first with the request that you'd like to take a particular essay topic. Now, the only reason for this is that I want to make sure you have a topic that you can do well in. There's a danger that you'll pick a trendy topic or something you like, and either you'll set it up in a way that's too big for you to handle in a short essay, and I want to help you. And I prefer that you focus on the materials within the course to write the essay. That is the textbook, the videos, and the other resources we have available to you. It's not intended for you to be a large research essay. It's a reflection essay. And hence, you'll see you're required to set this essay out in a particular way. And I want to point these 5 points out to you. First, you need to set out the historical background to the issue. You need to take account of what any legal or judicial decisions are. And ethics people will often say, we have to do this because it's legal. And you won't have any idea what the legal authority is or what it really says. So it's important to set that out. You set out your personal reflections on the moral justification for the present state of the issue. You identify ethical principles involved. In other words, it's not a bull session. This is an academic exercise in ethics. Your opinion's great, and I'm happy if you express it, love you to express it. That's part of the fun of it. But really should be able to say, this is a deontological argument, and I like it or I don't like it. Or this is a pragmatic argument, or whatever the theory might be being applied. Make sure that you meet all the citation and research requirements of an essay. While it's not a research essay per se, what research you do, you need to cite. And in that regard, it's not possible for you to do this essay without citing some materials. And you need to do that. And you need to use the Chicago style, because in philosophy we primarily use the Chicago style. And again, go to D2L. You'll find a whole section to help you there on Chicago style and how to write an essay. And you'll find the essays can be graded strictly according to this criteria. So have a look at the instruction plan. Now, I talked about study questions. I have made a slight mistake here. We'll come to this one. At the end of this particular video, you'll find, indeed all the videos, you'll find something like this sheet that have been read. It may be entitled What You Need to Know, or what the key items from this week's unit. And every single one of them. This is a study sheet for you. It should enable you to look back over the video and look at the textbook and the reading references and be able to identify. Now, this particular study sheet, or What You Need to Know sheet for week 1, is a relatively general one because we're looking at general topics, as you've seen. And indeed, we're going to cover some of those in a moment, which you'll have yet to get to. So I encourage you to do that each week, and you'll find, by the way, a printed copy of this in PDF format in each unit. So you'll have it there, you can see straight away and print it off for yourself. A brief introduction here. You'll see that the objectives of this class involve you being able to analyse and critique a philosophical/ethics text. That's part of the reason for reading cases. To define terms and understand terms, and we're going to start looking at terms. Knowing the ethical theories, and understanding some of the major arguments and major ethical problems. And understanding the importance of reasoning and justification, and to demonstrate that you've mastered those things. The question, of course, is where will we begin? Well, the academic study of ethics has a long history. It's tied up with the study of philosophy, and that, of course, as far as the Western tradition, it takes us back to Greece and to Athens and the pre-Socratic philosophers. And so that's where we will begin. Now, where in the world does ethics fit into the study of philosophy? The big study of philosophy involves some major divisions. I've got 4 of them listed for you on the screen: metaphysics, epistemology, value theory, and aesthetics. Metaphysics is the study of what's real. Epistemology is about knowledge. That's where you'd study logic and rhetoric. And then there's value theory. And that's a theory of what a good life is, what's justice, what's jurisprudence, how do you make just laws. These are big theoretical, conceptual ideas and high values. And then ethics and morality, closely aligned, are rules for living the good and the just life. They can be personal rules and they can be social rules. So there's personal ethics and public or social ethics. And the aesthetics is a study of what is beautiful. A little summary of that again for you here. A little more information on those very important distinctions in philosophy. Leave you to look at those. Now some of these distinctions. Morality. What is the relationship between morality and value theory, morality and ethics? Well, one Professor John Frame says they're basically synonymous terms. Duma says that morality consists of the entirety of traditional and dominant customs, while ethics is a reflection upon those customs. The debate goes on and on. Perhaps the most helpful thing I think I can share with you is that, I'm suggesting this to you in the slide, that ethics is the application to life of moral values and judgments. And that's in relation to one's own personal life, in one's community, and one's society. And the academic study of ethics, as distinct from ethics in general, the academic study involves a rigorous and critical review of the theories and judgments used to apply those moral values. In other words, we're going to think about how people go about applying their values to ethical decisions and problems, and how the quality of the reasoning associated with it, and that's the art of it. As a result of that, there are 2 approaches to ethics in the academic study of ethics. One is a descriptive approach, where you can simply say, we're describing what is taking place. And the other is to try to come up with a description of what's the norm, what would normally apply. And sometimes those 2 approaches intermingle, particularly when you're doing a paper, for example. You come to a conclusion on a particular issue. You'll end up describing the situation and then trying to apply some principle to it and make it normative to the situation. But sometimes it's good to keep those 2 distinctions separate. And as we go on, that will become clearer in the course. There's a interesting distinction between the word value, because value theory, and virtue. And what is value theory? Well, it's this theory of the worth of something. What kind of things are valuable? For example, there's economic value, aesthetic value, medical value, and so on. In ethics, value is in relation to worth. It's the quality of a thing that makes it desirable. In relation to excellence, what makes it esteemed. In other words, if something's worthwhile, it's desirable. If it's excellent, it's esteemed, it's praised. If it's good, it's a value of goodness as opposed to something else. Evil could probably be the negative of that. And it's the last of these, in relation to the good, what is good is most often in terms of the value theory. What is a good life? What is good justice? What is fair? Virtue, on the other hand, are the grounds for praising something or someone. This person is a virtuous person because they do X and Y. In terms of norms and ethical norms, you might well view these as commands or moral principles, high standards. Again, you'll see that all of these terms have a degree of flexibility with them, which does make them a bit of a challenge. And so, especially when you begin reading a textbook, you need to realise that the terms I'll be giving you here, there is some, if you like, flexibility in understanding them. But we're not finished yet. We've got to deal with rights. And normally you say that rights come as a result of a norm. Distinguish rights from a moral value. Rights are interesting. For example, it could be argued that because I am a person, a human being, I have certain rights. But those rights tend to be derived from a legal norm, a constitutional norm, or a natural norm. Rights are interesting, distinctive kind of norm, and they don't really have an opposite, which makes them an interesting challenge. Moral goodness is that which conforms to norms, laws and standards. And of course, obligation, duty, and you'll see the word the ought. One ought to do something. Actions that are required by an ethical norm. And justice is something which is morally right. Well, again, I'll leave you to look at those terms. Again, use these terms as we're discussing them here as an introduction to the terms, and as you begin reading the textbook, you'll get a sense of how those terms are differently understood. Now, it's this particular part of the introduction that is very important for us, because at the heart of this course is an examination of the reasoning, the explanations and the justifications for various values and for various application of ethical theories. And in the academic study of ethics, the major tool to be used is the use of reason. Now, in philosophy, of which ethics is a part, there's a distinction drawn between reason, meaning the using of reason in every sense of the word, as distinct from mythology, coming up with moral standards by virtue of, say, a view of God. Philosophy and philosophical ethics is primarily doing that. Now, there's an exception to this. There is a moral theory called divine command theory, and philosophers and secular ethicists discuss and critique the divine command theory. So we'll actually look at divine command theory and its parallel, natural ethics, natural law ethics, and we'll be looking at it. And there might seem to be at that point, but the critique of that is purely on the basis of reason, because that's, if you like, the basis on which this kind of ethics is done. It's not theological ethics or biblical ethics, it's secular ethics or philosophical ethics. And again, it's important to realise that we need to draw, throughout this course, a distinction between personal ethics and social ethics. Personal norms and social norms. There's a sense in which everyone's entitled to their own moral perspective. There's a sense in which we can say that this for me is the right thing to do and I can do it. But no pen is an island. No woman is an island. No family is an island. No sub-community is an island. We're part of a greater whole. And there's a sense in which there's international standards of ethics and behaviour. There is a national standards of behaviour. And these are usually encoded in constitution and laws. And they form what we call social ethics or community ethics. And so we need to distinguish between those two things. It's perfectly okay for you to have your view and in your personal life to say this is the way I approach life. The problem is that we're not an island, and we'll find ourselves having to make decisions that we might think is a certain right decision, but we may not have the actual freedom to make that decision because of social and moral standards which restrict my ability to exercise my personal moral ethics. So two important points come out of this. One is that we're going to be using reason as the tool of critique, and we're focusing on reasoning, explanations and justification for the views of social standards and ethics. And the second is you need to distinguish between personal ethics and social ethics. Now I'll leave you now with the need for the class forums to prepare for them. I'd like you to look over the syllabus again. I draw it to your attention. Please read it carefully. And if you have questions, email them to me. In the meantime, I'd like to try and make this course a little more personal. Hopefully, by seeing the videos, you'll get to know me. But I'd like to get to know you, and I'd like the class to know you. And to that end, I'd like you to go to the discussions in the forums, and to there, click on the Getting to Know You forum, and tell us something about yourself, who you are, why you're doing this course. Perhaps even put up a photograph of yourself. That'll help us when we come to our forums and we come to our WebExes. We'll know each other a little better. It'll make it a little more personal for everybody. So I appreciate you doing that if you would. Lastly, this slide will appear in each of the units. What are the key things you need to know from this unit? I've listed them for you. You get them each one. Now obviously those distinctions are the starting point for you today. And of course here's a summary of that assignment for you. So thank you for watching this video. I'm looking forward to getting to know you and glad you're part of the course.